In the year 1835, the Spanish royal army prepares to execute a group of rebels who have stolen 50 kilograms of royal gold. After the evidence is confirmed, the execution begins. As a priest starts to pray, Commander Stefano orders him to stop, demanding that the rebels be denied any chance of salvation. Moments later, they are all executed. After the execution, Stefano orders one of his soldiers to deliver a report to the kingdom. But suddenly, panic spreads when one of the soldiers realizes that one of the executed men is still breathing. Against all odds, a bearded man named Patsy survives, protected by a dark pact with the devil. Emerging from the fog, Patsy begins slaughtering the soldiers and the priest. Witnessing the horror, Stefano loses his nerve and tries to flee, but his bullets have no effect. In the end, Patsy kills him with his own hands. What happened next would become a story whispered for years to come. This is Aramentari. 8 years later, the story shifts to a man named Alfredo, who arrives at a filthy roadside bar. He is a government agent sent to investigate a wanted criminal named Patsy. The locals warn him not to act recklessly, as Patsy is known as a mad blacksmith, feared like a violent psychopath. A man named Jose, who owns an inn, tells Alfredo that Patsy now lives alone in a remote house at the edge of the forest. Later that afternoon, Alfredo decides to investigate the place by himself. When he reaches the gate, fear sets in as he sees warning signs covered in crosses and sharp metal. Inside the house, Patsy is calmly working at his forge. When his hammer breaks, he continues shaping the hot iron with his bare hands, showing no sign of pain. The next day, while villagers attend church, a young girl named Usue plays near the forest. She is not an ordinary child, as she can calmly handle a venomous snake without fear. Her peace is shattered when two boys, Benny and Juan, kill her pet snake. Furious, Usue confronts them, but Benny cruelly mocks her by bringing up her mother's death, claiming she hanged herself and is now burning in hell. Hurt and angry, Usue runs away while the boys chase her. When they reach Patsy's gate, Benny and Juan steal Usue's doll. After Usue strikes back, Benny angrily throws the doll's head into the yard. Deciding not to push things further, the boys leave. Moments later, they hide when they see Patsy nearby, collecting dry branches with his blackened hands. Rumors in the village say he kidnaps children, yet Benny foolishly throws a stone at him before running away. Patsy chases them, but eventually restrains himself and lets them go. When Benny returns to the village, his mother Anna immediately scolds him after seeing his bleeding nose. Benny explains that Usue hit him while they were playing in the forest. Soon after, Usue arrives and Father Mateo steps in to warn her not to play near the woods anymore. Instead of listening, Usue grows upset and storms off. Meanwhile, Alfredo continues his mission. After observing Patsy's house, he asks several villagers to help him capture Patsy, promising a large reward from the kingdom for anyone who helps recover the stolen gold. Miguel and two of his friends quickly accept the offer. Still, Miguel reminds the group not to act recklessly, especially since rumors say Patsy lives with a demon that gives him unnatural strength. Before long, Miguel and the others arrive at Patsy's home. They easily break the chain, locking the gate. Miguel invites Alfredo to come inside, but Alfredo chooses to stay near the entrance instead. The others move forward to carry out the capture. When Ortiz knocks on the door, Patsy shouts for them to leave. They insist he surrender under royal orders. Suddenly, everything goes wrong when Lucas steps into a bear trap and screams while firing his weapon in panic. Chaos erupts as Ortiz charges forward. Patsy tries to drive them away, even freeing Lucas from the trap and telling him to leave. But in his panic, Lucas slips and falls into another trap, dying instantly. Because of this incident, Patsy becomes even more feared and misunderstood by the villagers. He realizes that this event will only deepen their hatred toward him. Not long after, Usue gathers the courage to return to Patsy's home to retrieve her doll's head. After hiding the doll's body, she carefully sneaks inside. Her fear spikes when she sees Patsy carrying a lifeless body. Believing she has been discovered, she panics, but manages to hide just in time. Instead of fleeing, Usue decides to push forward and enters the house through a small passage. Inside, she is shocked to find a young boy locked inside a cage of thorns. The boy begs for help, explaining that the key is always hanging from Patsy's belt. He shows marks on his body and claims that Patsy has been torturing him. Though terrified, Usue feels pity and agrees to help. When Patsy returns, she quickly hides again. Moments later, overwhelmed by his troubles, Patsy begins drinking heavily, hoping to drown his pain. A short time later, after Patsy falls asleep from drinking, Usue quietly sneaks closer and carefully takes the key hanging from his belt. She quickly frees the child from the cage. Once released, the child urges Usue to follow him, but instead of escaping, he suddenly picks up a trident and his body begins to transform. In an instant, his true form is revealed as a demon. Ushu is left in shock when she realizes the being she freed is actually a demon named Sardiel. It turns out Patchy, who had repented for his past, had been keeping Sardiel imprisoned inside his home all along. Patchy manages to block Sardiel's attack just in time. As Sardiel roams freely, Patchy activates the security mechanisms of his house to prevent him from escaping. Unfortunately, Sardiel manages to strike from behind, but Patchy fights back and drives a heated iron into Sardiel's eye. After injuring him with the burning metal, Patchy begins hunting Sardiel through the house. However, Sardiel manages to capture Ushu and use her as leverage. Declaring that he is tired of everything, Sardiel prepares to leave and return to his master. Before he can escape, Sardiel is caught in a bear trap. Patchy immediately chains him down. Around the same time, Benny tells his parents that Ushi has gone missing again after playing near the forest. Believing Patchy is involved, Jose gathers the villagers and heads toward Patchy's home. Inside, Ushi wakes up in panic after hearing Sardiel's terrifying screams. Once again, the demon is forced back into his cage. Annoyed by Sardiel's constant taunting, Patchy punishes him with a heated iron. Moments later, Patchy approaches Uzue and reassures her, telling her not to be afraid. He returns her lost doll and treats her gently, nothing like the rumors people spread about him. He even tends to her injured leg with care. When Uzue becomes frightened by Sardiel's screams again, Patchy takes her to see him. He explains that Sardiel cannot return to hell without taking a human soul with him. To prove it, Patchy shows her how to scare the demon using a cross. Together, Patchy and Ushu begin tormenting Sardiel. Patchy then grabs a handful of beans and scatters them across the floor. The scattered beans force Sardiel to obsessively count them, no matter what else is happening. When they disturb the count, Sardiel grows furious. Not stopping there, Patchy brings out a blessed bell and uses it to further torment the demon. Not long after, Ushu begins to feel sympathy as she watches Sardiel suffer. At the same time, Patchy steps away for a moment, leaving Usue alone with the demon. Feeling guilty, she apologizes to Sardiel for everything she has done to him. Curious and troubled, Usue then asks how someone can be freed from hell. She explains that the villagers believe her mother is condemned there after committing something unforgivable. When Sardiel hears what her mother did, he is visibly stunned. He explains that such an act is considered one of the gravest sins, and that once someone is damned for it, there is no path back. After hearing this, Patchy quickly takes Usue home, but just as they step outside the gate, they are confronted by an angry mob. Even though Patchy hands Usue over safely, Alfredo orders the villagers to arrest him, accusing him of stealing the royal gold. The crowd immediately attacks Patchy without mercy. Once Patchy is captured, Alfredo leads the villagers to search the property for the stolen gold. In the courtyard, the villagers begin questioning Uzue about her connection to Patchy. At that moment, Father Mateo reveals the dark truth from 8 years earlier. He explains that when Patchy returned from war, he discovered that his wife had given birth to another man's child. Consumed by rage, Patchy killed the man responsible. Overcome with guilt, his wife later took her own life. After that tragedy, Patchy delivered a bell to the church and left baby Usue at an orphanage. It is revealed that Usue was the child born from the affair. After telling this painful story, Mateo joins the others in searching the house. The villagers are left in shock when they discover the demon that Patchy had been keeping in prison. Mateo insists that Sardiel must be handed over to the Vatican, but Miguel violently objects and strikes him. Alfredo then orders Jose and Mateo to leave the area. Soon after, Alfredo demands that Miguel and Ortiz torment Patchy to reveal the location of the stolen gold. At the same time, Alfredo approaches Sardiel and begins speaking to him. It is then revealed that Alfredo is actually a high-ranking demon named Alastor. When Sardiel asks for help, Alastor admits that he was sent to retrieve the stolen gold, which belongs to Lucifer himself. He also makes it clear that he has no interest in saving a demon who failed his mission. After that, Alastor orders Miguel and Ortiz to carry out the execution. Outside, the villagers attempt to break into the house after hearing the testimonies of Mateo and Jose. Seeing Usue nearby, Sardiel grows furious at Alastor's words and urges Usue to help save Patchy by ringing the holy bell. The moment she does, Alastor screams in agony and is shot on the spot. After Alastor is killed, Miguel and Ortiz flee in panic. In the chaos, Miguel reveals the shocking truth that Alfredo was actually a demon in disguise. After freeing Patchy's hands, Usui quickly moves to release Sardiel from the cage. But the moment he escapes, Sardiel once again steps into a bear trap, causing the villagers to swarm and attack him. After Sardiel manages to break free, Mateo angrily confronts Usui for setting him loose. Tired of being treated harshly, Ushu approaches Alastor and asks to be taken to hell so she can reunite with her mother. Alastor is pleased by this request, especially knowing he will gain the soul of an innocent child. The moment Ushu agrees, Alastor reveals his true demonic form. When Patchy sees what has happened, he is horrified to find Ushu collapsed after her soul is taken. As the villagers beat Sardael, Patchy desperately asks how to bring Usui back from hell. Sardael explains that Patchy must become his captive and bring along the stolen gold. Without hesitation, Patchy agrees and asks the villagers to bring the church bell. They are stunned to learn that the bell was forged from the very gold Patchy once stole. Once everything is ready, Patchy approaches Sardael so they can descend into hell together. In the next moment, the scene shifts to a realm of torment, where souls are endlessly punished by demons. Carrying a heavy object on his back, Patchy and Sardael search through hell for Usui. Soon, Patchy finds her wandering among the lost souls. As demon forces begin to surround them, Patchy urges Ushu to leave with Sardael. Suddenly, chaos erupts as Alastor, the demon king, appears. Patchy tries to stop him using the beans, but when the jar fails to break, Ushu steps in and scatters them herself. The moment the beans hit the ground, Alastor becomes obsessed with counting them, allowing the trapped souls to escape. With Alastor distracted, Patchy rushes to Ushu and chooses to take her place. To free her soul, he prepares to sacrifice himself by ringing the golden bell he carried. While Alastor remains distracted, Patchy strikes the bell with all his strength. The scene then shifts as Usui awakens from death. Through Patchy's sacrifice, she is brought back to life. To protect her from further harm, Sardael vows to haunt anyone who dares to mistreat her again. And with that, the story comes to an end. So the moral of the story is never mess with demons, stolen gold, or emotionally traumatized kids because chaos will always find you first.